This is a video review of a middle grade novel from Lisa Harkrader. It's called The Misadventures of Nob and Swill, and book one, and it's Crumbled. And you may notice that most of the reviews on this site are for picture books because they're video reviews, and it's hard to get people interested in just turning pages of text, okay? But in this case, Nob and Swill, even though it is a middle grade novel, it's illustrated. But this is just a really wonderful little book, and Lisa has just a great talent for creating stories around things that interest young children, especially boys. I think boys really like her books because this book is all about this little boy that cleans out the latrine or the toilet. It's called a garderobe in those days, of the king. And so it's all about basically manure. I forget what they call it, but it's back in the Middle Ages type times. And some of her other books, you may notice, she did one called Airball, which was kids playing basketball in their underwear for a reason, and also Bean Boy, and that had to do with this little kid who was good at farting. So as you can tell, she creates these books that would appeal to little, particularly boys, middle grade boys. But the real talent comes in not just creating stories about that are going to make kids laugh, but that are going to have a deeper meaning and that really tell something about the character and how the character grows. And in this case, this little boy, his name is Nob and Swill, that's his name. When he and his family, he and his brothers and his dad, they live in this little town. I think it's called Twig. And here's some of the illustrations. You can see they're two-color illustrations, so they really look sort of medieval-like. And when they're going in their wagon to collect the dung, I guess that's what they call it, they're dung farmers, to collect the dung from the king, they go in the dark and they go get stuff from the pit where all the dung comes down from the garderobe in the castle. And sometimes Nobbin is able to find things in the dung. And in this case, he finds something shiny, doesn't know what it is, puts it in his pocket. But he has an idea because he thinks, this is a hard way to make a living, just shoveling this dung night after night after night. And so he comes up with an idea to create this little mechanical thing where they don't have to do the shoveling. It will put the dung in the basket or the wagon for them. So his main objective at the start of the story is getting the courage to present this idea to his dad. Then he comes upon a glimmer in the dung, and that's when he finds something in there. And here he is giving his father the paper with his idea. And his father isn't too keen on the idea because he thinks we've shoveled dung all this time. My father did it, my father before him. We're just going to keep doing it this way. We don't need some fancy contraption to automate it. So the Nobbin puts the shiny thing in his pocket and they just head out. Okay, so once they head out, they come to the bridge, and here's where it gets kind of clever. Guess who lives under the bridge? The troll. And according to this three brothers here, there were 3 goats that got lost and probably eaten by the troll at one time, which of course is a reference to the 3 Billy Goats Gruff. So all throughout the story, there's reference to other fairy tales. We see that once Nobbin, he gets saved by the troll. There he is. He's not so evil after all. And then he's going to take the ring back to the king. And we learn that the king's son is called Prince Charming, who, of course, comes from another fairy tale. And then there are all kinds of little problems throughout the story that Nobbin is able to help Prince Charming solve. And all these little illustrations, the 2-color illustrations. And of course, there's someone who's plotting against the prince, and there are things happening with Nobbin. So it has kind of a little interesting ending to what happens. I'm not going to tell you the whole story because then we're going to realize that this is only book one and probably some other things are going to happen too. But I will tell you that the Hansel and Gretel appear in this story, and there's a real cute little thing here about why the witch created her home out of gingerbread and candy and stuff, and why she lives in the middle of the forest and stuff like that. So I think this is just a real clever little story that incorporates references to all kinds of fairy tales that kids could also go back and either reread or read for the first time if they haven't read them to make more sense of this story, but they will really enjoy those references when they come upon them. It's almost like a surprise and think, oh, I remember Prince Charming, he was in this story, or Hansel and Gretel, or the witch who has the gingerbread cottage, wasn't that the witch from Hansel and Gretel? They'll just, once they realize that, they'll want to keep reading because, you know, it's just a lot of fun. And of course, the hook for middle grade boys is the dung farmer. Just kind of things that interest middle grade boys, but I think girls will find it interesting too once they get reading the story. So I highly recommend The Misadventures of Nob and Swill, Crumbled by Lisa Harkrader.